Hi friends, it's Sarah from Ruffles and Rainboots here with a new material and some super fun freebies. Speaking of freebies, if you want all of my freebies delivered to you each week, you can go to this address. I'll put it down below and you can sign up and let me know what you're interested in. It is a free newsletter. All right, so I'm going to be using two blanks as my substrates. You can use anything, the Dollar Tree plaque and this letter O from Michael's that I got on clearance, whatever, anything. And then I'm going to be using this Mulberry paper. It's so pretty in itself and you can print directly on it. You can paint directly on it. You can color directly on it. It's super great for Mod Podge or decoupage. I'm also going to be using foil and some accents like a fern and paper flowers. We're going to need some brushes and a ruler along with our Mod Podge or other decoupage material or substance because we have to measure each of these. The reason I'm measuring them is because I'm going to use the images I'm going to put down below for you for free, and I'm going to print them with my home inkjet printer. Nothing fancy. You just load this exact piece in you don't even have to tape it to anything like you do tissue paper. No, we're just making sure that each of them fit. I'm going to probably move that bunny down a little bit, but they both fit. I sized right. Let's go. So I'm asked a lot, why don't I use chalk paint as a primer? I think it's too thick, it's goopy, and it doesn't dry very well. So what I'm going to do is use gesso. I just wanted to show you, I do in fact sand these things before I start. It's just going to make it a little easier, and the finished product is nicer. I'm going to heat dry these because I am impatient. Both of these actually took me a little less than 40 minutes. But again, it's going to depend on your actual what you're working with and what your accessories are. But this set of decoupage took me 40 minutes. Printer was super quick. I didn't even put it on like best ink quality. It's just so pretty. I love Mulberry paper. Decoupage is one of those things that you don't have to be perfect at it for it to look really good in the end. All right, so while I'm going to talk to you about some tips on Mulberry paper, I'm going to just let this play for the people who aren't listening. They're just watching the steps. So after each of these, I just set them aside and repeat it. Now, on the Mulberry paper, you will want to actually print it and then wait 24 hours if you're using an inkjet printer. I don't, and I know I'm not going to have a great result with regard to one thing, and which is why I planned on the little flowers. Now, Mulberry paper is going to almost disappear, but it does have, look at me, I'm such a klutzo. Anyway, Mulberry paper is going to disappear. When you use this method, it will literally disappear. And it's nice because it also adds a little bit of texture in case you're not perfect. Yes, I did almost just pour the Mod Podge down the front of me, by the way. But you can see me, I have to pick this up because I'm under these studio lights and it's hard to see what I've covered or I haven't covered. So you can see me just kind of turning it. That's just, you don't have to do that. You can leave it on the table. But Mulberry paper is going to be best when the entire image is on there. It's just going to fade out. I just like it. It's my favorite part. You don't have to sand it. You don't have to remove it with cello tape. You just use it as it is. And I love that because sometimes the printer paper, you can use printer paper, by the way. It's just a little thick, but this stuff is like, I think it's the perfect combination. All right, so once I have the medium layers of Mod Podge on there, I will dry them with the heat gun and it's totally fine. I'm using the X Tool mini heat press. It's a little bigger than the Cricut one. I'm going to be using 120 grit paper and parchment paper. Now you can see I've already pressed the edges on these because I like it to grab so that I will not move it when I initially start ironing. So I just kind of press over the paper. Now this portion here, you could go willy-nilly and just cut it all you want. I'm using an X-Acto knife only because I am going to use the top of that for my little oval piece and I didn't want to accidentally rip it and then have to print a whole nother paper. Going back to the Mulberry paper and printing, you just reuse your regular inkjet or laser printer at home. Then you just load it in the tray automatically, like just where your regular paper goes, remove your regular paper, and then just leave it on regular quality. Then wait 24 hours. And by the way, on little rocks or small Dollar Tree ornament canvases that I made, I can print like 6 to 8 of these images. So it's not always like these bigger images taking up so much, but you can use this stuff in pieces. You can quarter an image and then do something really big. I just love mulberry paper. So I am on the medium setting, which would be somewhere between 280 and 300 degrees if you're using a home iron. This is super simple. This is real time. This is exactly how long it takes. Doesn't take any time at all. I will do the center and then I will remove the paper after I go to each of the edges. So you can see I'm on the edges. I won't go all the way around in detail until I let it cool for a second. So I don't want to scorch it, right? That's the whole thing. I just kind of feel in the temperature. When it's cooled down, then I'm going to focus on all of the edges. So when I Mod Podge, I use a tiny little bit of Mod Podge on the edges to sort of bring that paper down over it. Once I've done that, I just let it cool and then I will check all of my edges. And I mean, it's not technical. I just lift up the paper along the edges. Make it sound like I'm doing something crazy fancy. I'm not. This is me. This is just, I'm checking all of the edges. You can see I'm lifting up on this paper just to make sure it doesn't actually come up. There you go. But I just love the look of this. I'll show you a close-up in just a second. See that? It's so smooth and the texture of the mulberry paper just kind of melts in. Aren't those little bunnies so cute? I just like them so much. Just checking the temperature. Now I'm going to sand, which I normally wouldn't do inside my house, but I'm just using this to show you right here. See that string of fiber in the mulberry paper? You may have to go over it a couple times for it to break off, but the rest of it is exactly like normal. A couple swipes and it's all the way around done. Easy peasy, right? Look how well that seam is. I am just so happy. I had to sand off a little bit of the paint that I actually got on the edge. I'm going to paint that a different color than the white gesso. All right, so I just check all of my edges, make sure everything is down, and now it's time to move on to the foil. Let's make things fancy. So you can see here, this is the rose gold foil. You can get these on Amazon. There's so many colors of foiling, and because we're just doing little bitty things, we're not doing a whole dresser drawer or a painting or anything. It's so nice just to have them and pull them. So I have a few colors of gold, and then I also have silver and this champagne silver, which it's so pretty. It's so pretty. And yes, I am a rebel. I got on a different channel, I did decoupage, and I did this kind of stuff straight out of the bottle. And they were like, you can't do that. You're going to contaminate things. Y'all, my daughter's middle name is Danger. Do you think that I care if I put a paintbrush back into the Mod Podge bottle? I don't. I'm a rebel. Okay, so I'm just going to cut this into strips. And I hold onto the paper instead of the actual foil. Otherwise, I end up being a foiled Sarah at the end of it. And here's just a tip, a reminder, turn off the fan if you have a fan going in your craft room, which I do, and it's just blowing that stuff all around. You'll see in a second. But once you get it on there, you do not touch it. You do not press it down. You do not move the foil. You just pick up the whole, there it goes. You just pick up the whole thing and set it aside for 20 minutes or 2 hours. Just make sure it's completely dry. So I wanted to use a piece of the Dollar Tree ferny thing that I got and these paper flowers at the bottom. So I'm going to scooch him up a little bit and make sure I have the bottom open. So I'm just making sure he's centered. And now I'm going to do the same thing. For those of you who are not listening, same thing, same temp, same bat time, same bat channel. Does anybody remember that? Or I'm kind of showing my age, I suppose. Anyway, so one tip about the mulberry paper, if you do not let it dry for 24 hours, I'm going to show you what happens. Now, again, I know it's going to happen, which is why I have those little paper flowers over there. But I didn't want to wait. So this is Waverly Plaster. It's a very light off-white. I would call it a French cream, maybe. It's not quite as bright white. So what I wanted to do was two different colors. I wanted to do a cream and a dark brown. But I'm just looking and determining if I want to do 2 layers of cream and then the dark brown on the outside edge only, but I don't. I'm using this little square head brush. I'm not going to make you watch me paint all this, but I'm using the square head brush because I don't want to tape anything off. I'm much too lazy for that. And once I dried that, now I'm going to use antique wax. And yes, I'm using a paintbrush to apply antique wax. At first I thought I was going to just do this bottom edge, but then I thought, no, I can make a lot of impact. Now you can see on the bottom down there, I didn't sand those 2 edges as well as I could have, but yeah. I like the color. So now I'm going to go ahead and do the brown all the way around. Now, I know a lot of people are like, antique wax is not paint. I know, but you can paint it on. It's okay. You can break all the rules. This is your craft. You don't have to listen to anybody. Now, once I let that dry for a little bit, this is for the cream color paint, but once I let that dry, I kind of had an error there, so I fixed that, and then I dried that, and then I started wiping off, which you do with the antique wax, and then I rubbed off even more edges around it just to make it look a little vintage and worn. Now, this part here, if you are using Mulberry paper for the first day you print it, you're going to want to use a spray sealant. You see that down little part at the bottom where it muddied up those colors? Again, I knew it was going to happen, so it's okay. But just FYI, I would always use a spray sealant if you're using this printed Mulberry paper the first day. So I glued down a little fern, glued down my little 2 pieces, and then I'm going to show you the felt backing in just a second. So here you can see my little dots and my sprigs and sprays. I just brush it off with a sort of chippy brush, and then it did all the work for me. And then go ahead and get a wet paper towel and just take all of that gold foil straight to the trash can. Or you can save it. I saved mine. I just traced around the backs of each of these 2 things and cut out pieces of felt to staple gun on in the end. And I thought I wanted the edge of this natural, but that just started bothering me. Please tell me I'm not the only one. I had a plan that was going to stay natural wood, and then I couldn't stand it. So here is my staple gun. It is not very nice. It is just a basic staple gun. You can get fancy ones, pink ones even, on Amazon if you want. But I am using 5/16 staples. I get that question every single time I bring out my staple gun, and I'll show you the package. So hang on just a second for those of you wondering. I stapled like 4 or 5 on here, and then I had to fill them. So here you go, 5/16. You can see the brand arrow, and that's it. I added it to both of these in the back. I absolutely liked how it came out. I loved working with the Mulberry paper and cannot wait to work with it again. Be sure to follow me here on YouTube and sign up for the free newsletter. Please like, share, and subscribe for more fun.